Hi Vishak. Hi Jitters sir. Hi Shine sir. Hi Albin. Hello, hi Vipin. Hi Dimal. Hi Albin. Hi. Hi Vaishak. Hi Deepa. Hi, good morning Ludia. Good morning Vishnu. Alright, so good morning all and welcome to this live session for IELTS essay writing, that is specifically task 2. So before we start, let's begin with a piece of good news, and AJINORAH is proud to announce that we have in continuance with our excellent results throughout these months. We have got 80% pass percentage in the recently announced OET results. So congratulations to all the candidates who appeared for the test and the trainers who trained them. And in continuance with the social like corporate social responsibility activities of AJINORAH, we are proud to associate with the Excise Department and First State Charitable Trust to conduct a campaign for conduct an anti-drug campaign. So here are some visuals of that campaign which is being which is in progress now. So good news for nurses. There are some direct face-to-face interview and recruitment drives being that's coming your way in November, and the first one is on 4th of November. That's in Mangalore. Then the next is on 5th of November, that's in Bangalore, Rosie Royal. Then the 9th is in Kerala, that's in Calicut. 12th is in Chennai, 15th is in Sacred Heart, Bangalore, and in 26th of November it's been conducted at Kochi. So request you all to utilize this golden opportunity to reach your dream destination and get the dream job that you have always aspired for. See, all the best. And these interviews are being conducted by NHS Trust. So I hope everyone will make maximum usage of this golden opportunity. Also, AJINORAH is proud to announce that we are providing German training for all levels A1, A2, B1 and B2. So if you are interested in studying German, or if you are planning to study German, please join AJINORAH for the best coaching in the German language for all these levels. Okay, so now let's come to the topic of this live session. It's the tips and strategies to overcome jitters in IELTS Task 2 essay. So mostly students face this problem with Task 2 essays. How to go about it, how to write the task, what are the efficient ways that this essay will fetch them the required band score. So probably this is just an introduction to answer to introductory video to answer all those questions that you have, and this is just a general overview that we are providing now. Possibly we are planning more sessions, more live sessions, handling different type of essay questions, for example argumentative essays or analytical essays. Those are planned for the immediate future. So we will be detailing about each type of essay for your reference, what sort of an introduction you should write, what points can you write, how to go about these different types. So all those are being planned and already in the pipeline. So please stay tuned for more. But for a start, we are now going to discuss about the have a brief introduction about how to conquer some of the common mistakes that are made in task 2 writing. So as usual, though everyone might know it, we will just start off with the grading criteria for IELTS task 2, and those are the 4 criteria that everyone knows, but let's just brush up our knowledge on that, right? So the first is task response. So here what is being checked is that have you sufficiently addressed all parts of the task, have you presented a well developed response to the question asked, and are your ideas relevant, and are the explanations provided for that relevant too. So the next criteria is cohesion and coherence, where primarily it is checked whether you have sequenced all the information correctly and if your ideas are logically presented. There is a link between the different ideas that you have written, and you have used paragraphing effectively and appropriately. The third important criteria, lexical resources, nothing but your vocabulary. Are you using vocabulary fluently and flexibly to convey the different meanings that you want to, or is your vocabulary precise enough to convey the meaning of your essay? Do you use lexical terms which are not very common but which are appropriate for the given topic? And you have rare errors in spelling or in word formation. So the fourth, the last but not the least criteria, grammatical range and accuracy. So you are using a wide range of grammatical structures, your sentences are mostly error free, and you make only occasional errors or inappropriate grammar structures, right. So these are the 4 criteria that mainly everyone has to concentrate on, and these are the criteria by which you will be graded in your task 2 essay, right. So just a brush up of the information that you may already know. but it's always good to know about the criteria, right? Because we have to know what we have to focus on in our essay, because without knowing the criteria we don't know how the marks are going to be given to our writing. So always have a good idea about the criteria, and that will help you to get a good score in your writing, right? So now let's go to the main topic of discussion in our live session, right? So here we are just going to do a brief overview about what is actually required for you in a writing task 2, right? Most students face this issue, like they can't complete their task on time, or maybe they have a problem with starting off the task, or maybe they face issues when they come to body paragraph 1 or body paragraph 2. They can't generate proper ideas. Yeah, all these issues come up commonly or frequently for students who appear for this test, and through these series of videos or live sessions we plan to address some of these issues, some of the concerns that students might face in IELTS task 2 writing. Yeah, so the first and the most important thing to do when you get your writing task question is to read and then reread the question properly. Why is reading question important? Because most of the questions will have a general statement at the first half and the actual topic statement which comes after. So if you are not careful enough and you don't read the question properly, what happens is that you may answer to the first question instead of the actual question, which is the second statement, right? So always take time to read the question properly, because reading the question only makes you understand what is being required of you. Yeah, because some specific topic is being asked and you're asked to write a specific answer to that given topic. So if you don't read the question properly, there are higher chances that you go off topic, you write something illogical, and then you don't get the grade that you require. Fine. So reading the question first and the most important step. Also, when we get a writing task, or when we get a writing question, right, our first instinct is to go and just start off with our answer. We might have encountered that question when we practice in our classes, or maybe we might have encountered those questions online when we go through different resources. We immediately see some parts of the question in the exam and start off writing something that we have already memorized, or maybe something that we have already framed some answers in our own mind about that. Please avoid doing that. Please curb that instinct that you have, right? Because task planning is very important, and it is the most essential aspect of writing. Also proofreading, but first I am going to focus on task plan. So why is task planning important? Because let me put it bluntly, right? None of us are experienced writers. We don't do writing out of choice. Yeah, mostly writing is done because we are forced to do that, and for the purpose of getting this score or to clear this exam, we are forced to write a particular essay. No one does a writing task out of choice or like just for the fun of it, right? So what happens is that you won't be getting the flow of ideas if you don't plan your essay properly. You might have one idea, solid idea with you in your mind. You start off with that idea, that finishes, then you're stuck, and you don't get any ideas. You then start to procrastinate there. You are totally lost. The time is then running out for you. You look at the clock, already half an hour has passed. You have not finished half of your essay yet, and this adds up to the pressure that already you are in. So this is a stressful situation that we are already facing, because we are in a time bound test. Yeah, and you have to complete both the tasks on time. Okay, and without proper task plan, you are not going to achieve that goal. Yeah, so please be very cautious about this. Task planning is not a waste of your time. rather it is a device to save your time. You know all the points that you are going to write beforehand, and then you can smoothly execute those ideas in your essay. It's simple as that, right? Without proper task plan, it is very unlikely that you are going to complete this essay on time and also with proper ideas, right? And then now let's focus on proofreading. So why is proofreading important, right? Because mostly we are writing essays and we just speed off with our essay. We want to write those points before we forget anything, right? Maybe that point, that topic is a bit convoluted, or maybe it's a bit tougher, yeah, and you may feel that you may forget that point if you don't write it fast enough. So you're just writing down your ideas, you're explaining that, you have written the example, everything. You don't have time to proofread what you're reading, writing, right, at that time. So you just plainly go on with your task, you write everything properly and your essay ends there, right? Now you go back to your essay, you just read through, because everyone makes mistakes in spelling, right? It's a human instinct, because commonly made mistakes, like even common words like achieve, or maybe it is referred, yeah, 1F or 2F, achieve, is there a IE or EI, yeah, these are all common mistakes in common words. We may feel that, oh yeah, these are all simple words, right, who is going to make a mistake, but we all do, yeah. Each one of us has a hook word, like we always make an error in that word, right? And if it's not a good day, that word will come in your essay somehow or the other, right? And most likely or not, you're going to make a mistake with that word. So please take time to proofread your essay, and make sure that your essay is error free. There are no problems in the spellings as well as the sentences that you have constructed, right? So ideal time for task plan and proofreading, 5 minutes each. Task plan 5 minutes before you start the essay, for proofreading 5 minutes after you complete your task, right? So don't consider it as a waste of your time, rather it's just devices to save your time and to save effort as well, right? Okay, so what is the hallmark of a good essay? This is something that everyone has a question about, right? What is the actual hallmark of a good essay? So the actually a good essay has a very good introduction and a proper conclusion. Yeah, this is as simple as that. Why? Because if your essay has a good introduction, that means you have understood the topic well. Yeah. If your essay has a good conclusion, that means you have written good ideas in your essay. It's simple. Yeah. If your introduction and conclusion are vague, or especially if your introduction is vague, it means that you have not understood the topic and you are going to write an essay about a topic that you have not really understood, isn't it? So this is just plain speak. So some students may feel that okay, I don't have to bother much about introduction, conclusion, just I'll write something ordinary and move on, but I'll focus on body paragraphs, use some vocabulary which is maybe extraordinary, use some linker words, stuff like that, make it more complicated, then I may be able to escape with all this and get a good score. Most likely not, yeah, because if your introduction and conclusion is not proper, your essay will not be attractive to the person reading it, right? Because at a glance your essay should clearly mention what is the aim that you are trying to strive for with your essay, right? And that is the significance of a proper introduction and a proper conclusion. So kindly don't overlook that, because that forms a base to a good writing task. Yeah. Okay, so that is about task planning, proofreading and an introduction. So now we have just said about introduction, right? So what are the parts of a good introduction? Yeah. So you are going to start with a general statement, then you are going to paraphrase the question that is asked, and then you are presenting the thesis statement. So now we will go to each of these sections individually, right. So what is a general statement? And I think this is the place where most students have a problem or face a hindrance or face a hurdle, right. A general statement. So what is the purpose of a general statement actually? Yeah. So a general statement plainly is nothing but a sentence which is related to the topic and which introduces the topic to your reader, plain as that. Yeah. There is nothing more that can be said about the general statement except that it should be related to the topic and relevant to the topic asked. Yeah. If something is asked about A, say for example something about A, don't write go off on a tangent and write a general statement about say B or C, right, because it's illogical. Yeah, your readers should understand what the topic is from the general statement. Yeah, it should not confuse the reader actually, because they should know what the topic is going to be presented reading a general statement, right. It is just a general introduction to what you are going to write in your essay. Fine. So it should be relevant to the topic, not vague or not broad, right. So write a precise general statement always. And when you consider general statements, students always have this problem, right. They overthink about general statements. They spend 15 minutes for a general statement, they still write a vague general statement, and then they find that they don't have time to complete the actual task. Okay, and they just speed off with their body paragraphs, they just write on ideas, but they don't have any time to elaborate about them, and it goes on, and they somehow manage to complete it. But then your task 1 you don't have time to complete, right, because you have already spent 15 minutes for your general statement, which is actually the time meant for your task 1. Yeah, so you have to choose between the lesser evils, right. Do you want an essay without a general statement, or do you want an incomplete task 1? In a worst case scenario, I would probably say that you can avoid writing a general statement if you don't get any, but this is the worst case scenario, right. If you feel that you really don't know anything to write about a general statement in that particular topic, skip the general statement, maybe go to the paraphrasing, okay, and then the thesis part, right, because it's not worthwhile to spend 15 minutes to 20 minutes on a general statement and skip your task 1, right, because that's going to affect your final score. And because no one is expected to get a full score in task 2, so your actual score is made up of both task 1 and task 2 marks, and if you don't complete your task 1 on time, then you're not going to get your required score. Okay, so worst case scenario, skip general statement if you feel that you are not getting a good one, right, but that is the not don't do it in the first instance itself, it's the last case, right. If you feel that after 5 minutes even then you don't get a proper general statement, move on to the paraphrasing part. Fine. So paraphrasing the question, that's a second aspect of an introduction. So how do you effectively paraphrase a question, right. So according to IDP guidelines, if you write the same words or the same sentence structures which are in the question, those are not going to be counted as towards the word count of your essay, right, those are going to be scored off, right. So effective paraphrasing, you are going to use synonyms, right, or you are going to use different sentence structures to present the essay topic. So this is plain as that, right. You are going to write this question but in a different way, with different words and with different sentence structure, that is paraphrasing, right. Don't use the same words as that in the question, because those don't count up to your word count, and then you will be if you are just written 250 words correctly, you may be penalized, because those are not going to count to your go to your word count, right. So paraphrasing the question important. Okay. Another contentious problem that most students face is a proper thesis statement. So okay, what is a thesis actually, right. This is a thing which confuses most or I think almost everyone, because how to effectively write a thesis statement is still a point of contention among many students actually. And what is actually a thesis, right? What is actually a thesis? So a thesis is nothing but the way that you're going to answer this essay topic, right? So that is the method that you will use to answer this essay. It's plain as that, it's simple as that, right? A thesis defines the way that you're going to answer this question, right? So that is a thesis. The most commonly seen thesis statement, for example, it might be this essay describes the advantages and disadvantages, but to get a better score, it's better to avoid such a thesis. Why? Because this is a lazy statement, right? Because this is a lazy statement, and writing this doesn't require any effort from your side, because your reader, the reader of your essay, can read the question and understand that this essay will be discussing about the say if it's an advantages and disadvantages question. So your reader can understand the question, read the question, understand that this essay will discuss the advantages and disadvantages, right? So what is the fun in writing such a thesis statement? Where is the skill, what's the skill that you're portraying in your writing through such a thesis statement? There's nothing, right? So that's why this is a lazy effort from your side. Okay, so it's better to avoid such a thesis statement. Rather than that, go for something more innovative, right? Say for example, the topic is about advantages and disadvantages. So in your thesis, write at least one disadvantage and one advantage that you're going to present. Yeah, so your reader knows what to expect in your essay or the upcoming paragraphs, right? If it's an outweigh question, say the advantages are outweighing the disadvantages, maybe you can start off by writing about the disadvantages that you're going to present, but then the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. But you need not write the advantages per se, right? Because that is the first thing that you are going to write in a body paragraph. So you just don't have to write the advantages, but just mention the disadvantages, right? So though there are some disadvantages like such and such, but the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Yeah, so that's an example of a outweigh question. So you're going to start with the advantages in your body paragraph. Okay, writing a proper thesis is always essential part of introduction. Why? Because your reader can at a glance know what they are going to expect in this essay, right? Without a proper thesis statement, there is always an ambiguity about what the actual what will be actually discussed in this essay, right? So that lack of clarity may hurt you in your grades also. Okay, so please write a proper thesis statement. Please address clearly what you're going to write in your essay. Okay, so these are the parts of a proper introduction or an introduction that is well built, right? And writing an introduction in this manner is going to impress the examiner too, because your essay should be a like a breath of fresh air, isn't it? Not the run of the mill story that everyone writes, but something different that impresses the reader from the first word itself. Okay, fine. So that is about introduction. Now let's go to the body paragraph, and fine. So writing a body paragraph. So this is a good acronym that IDP has suggested in their website. The acronym is PEAL, P-E-E-L. So what is PEAL, right? And how do you go about using this acronym for your body paragraph structuring, right? So the first one, P, it's point, right? So in this point you have to introduce the topic sentence, right? So that is P. So the point that you're going to write in your body paragraph should be introduced in the first, right? So that is the first topic sentence or the first point that you're going to present, right? So that is P. Then E, that is explain, right? So explain the topic sentence with evidence. Yeah, so that is the elaboration of your topic sentence, right? So E. Okay, then the third E is write a relevant example. Okay, writing an example is always a again another challenge that students face, right. So, what is a good example to write? A good example always is linked, or a good example always supports the point that you have written, right, and that support, it's critical to the point that you have written. Okay. Don't write examples like recent survey conducted, or maybe illogical examples that you cannot corroborate with anything, yeah, or you cannot check with anything. Okay. Don't write examples that cannot be fact checked, okay, because if you write in a recent survey conducted by WHO or anything, that recent survey is not going to be there in the hands of the reader or the examiner. So, clearly it is going to be a made up example, right, and which is illogical and not factual. So, these type of examples should be strictly avoided, right. Write examples which are pertinent to the topic asked, which properly support the topic, that is that topic sentence that you have given, right. So, that is the third one, E, and L is link, right. So, what is link? By link we mean that you are going to transition properly to the next topic or the paragraph, yeah, and that transition is important because your essay has to be coherent and that should have cohesion, right. So, that L is also very important because you have to link your or transition your towards the next paragraph without any problems, right. So, that is PEEL, PEEL. So, use this acronym to write a good body paragraph and one that is readable, right, or one that is logical and that makes sense to the reader reading that, yeah. Also, if you are feeling very courageous, yeah, you may interchange the example and the explanation in either way, like for after the maybe the topic sentence, maybe you feel that you have got a very good example to support that topic sentence before the explanation, right, and you can write the example there also. But that is if your writing is really good and you feel that you have got a really good example for that, right. Say for example, maybe the essay is about renewable sources of energy, or something that does not use fossil fuels, right. So, what are the advantages and disadvantages of using for renewable sources of energy? Maybe that is the topic, that is the essay topic, right. And you have started off the topic sentence by saying about solar energy. Okay. So, everyone in the world knows that Cochin International Airport uses solar energy, right, solar energy to power its entire premises. So, you can start off by writing a prominent example, in this case would be the solar panels installed by Cochin International Airport to generate electricity, right. So, that in this case you have used an example before the actual explanation of the idea, yeah. That is something different and that requires a bit more courage from your side, yeah. Not to be used everywhere. If you are not confident, please do not go for that. Only if you have a very good example you can go for this, or if you feel that your writing is sufficiently good enough you can go for this, right, and such things get you a better band score and they really draw the attention of the examiner or the reader who reads your essay. Okay. Fine. So, another important thing to be careful about in writing a body paragraph. So, let us say we are taking the case of a opinion based essay, okay, and you have to write two views about it. So, there is a view 1, there is a view 2, and then you are writing the opinion based on one of those views, right. And most students have a tendency, or maybe they feel that if let us say I am taking view 1, right, and I am writing this test, I am taking view 1. So, they may feel that okay, I just have to write good points about view 1, anyways I am not going to bother about view 2 because that is not my view, right. So, I will just write something or the other, maybe a single point in view 2 and be done with it, then I will go with the opinion which is view 1, okay, and then I will end my essay, right. But then that has to be avoided. Why? Because you have to present a balanced essay to your reader. Okay. Both the views should contain equal number of ideas, right? So maybe the view 1 has 2 ideas, view 2 has 2 ideas, okay, and then your opinion, right? Because your reader may not want to select your opinion, they may want to select view 2, which is not your opinion, right? You're going to select view 1, but the reader might be like 50% in their mind, I want to go for view 2, just let me read the points in this view and see what actually to make my belief more stronger. I want to read what is there in view 2, right, before I form my opinion. But then you're not giving that chance to your reader, right? You're making them biased towards your view. Yeah, because forming an opinion based on a single point in a single view is not logical, right? So always write a balanced essay, one that gives a proper or unbiased view to your reader, so that they may form their own opinion based on that essay. Okay. Never try to prejudice the other person reading your essay, because each person has their own viewpoint, each person wants to think differently, right? So you have to give them that chance through your through your essay. Okay, and that can be done only when you write a balanced essay in the way that you are going to write strong ideas in both the views, and then let the reader decide whether they want to go for the view 1 or view 2. Okay. So please be careful about that. Always the paragraphs should be balanced with good ideas, right? Don't write one paragraph like the best ideas in one paragraph, the weaker ideas in one paragraph, then that becomes all jumbled up. Your essay lacks that coherence, and then it's not a good task to read such an essay, right? Because you have to be considerate to your reader as well. Okay, you have to be considerate about what opinion they want to form in your after reading your essay, right? So always present a balanced essay. All right, fine. So that's about body paragraphs and conclusion. Of course, the body paragraph, the same thing can be continued in the second body paragraph as well, the same way, the same structures. Yeah, and okay, the second body paragraph also will be following the same pattern as the first body paragraph. Okay. Now let's talk about conclusions. Mostly what happens in a conclusion is that by the time a student reaches the conclusion part, they are really out of time. Yeah, they just hurriedly write something. If it's related to the topic, they don't know. If it's not, they just want to fill up that paragraph, right? Better not to do that, right? And not advisable, right? Why? Because a conclusion is also a significant part of your essay. Always a conclusion should have ideas that are indicated in your body paragraphs, right? And that really shows what the quality of the points that you have written in your body paragraph. Yeah, if you have written good points, solid points in your body paragraph, your conclusion will also be a solid one. Yeah, always the end should be a good one. A good reasonable conclusion always shows that you really understood the topic, you have written valid ideas, and then you have ended it properly by summarizing the ideas that you have written. Okay, never underestimate the importance of a proper introduction and a conclusion. It's a critical part of every writing task to essay. Okay, fine. All right, so now we have some time to go through some do's and don'ts, maybe. Yeah, and fine. So let's start off by the most common ones. Don't overuse basic linking words like firstly, secondly, thirdly, all those things. Most commonly used linker words. Yeah, don't overuse them, right? Instead of using firstly, maybe you can start off by saying by trying the first reason or the main reason, right? Or the primary reason. Okay, this can be substituted in place of firstly. Okay, very commonly used, right? Uh, Also, students have a tendency to use linker words without proper context, like however or moreover and all those linker words. Yeah, uh, without proper context, such usages have no value actually. Yeah, they do more harm to your writing than actually the benefit. Okay. Uh, so you may feel that you have to use it mandatorily to get a good band score, right? But then maybe you don't use it in the proper context, or you don't know how to use it. That is even worse, and that really affects your score also, because then that reader or the examiner knows that you have memorized these words and you're just using them out of context. Okay, without a proper sentence to introduce them in, without a proper context to introduce them in, right? So if you're not sure about using linker words, better to avoid them, right? Write with simple structures. Don't try to drag down your score. Okay, that is very important. Okay, also it's always better that you don't start a sentence with a linker word, like say however. Okay, linker sentence at the beginning of a linker word at the beginning of a sentence really has no value for that. Yeah, maybe you can use it in this context, yeah, in the middle of a sentence, right? So for example, the topic is about environment, right? You can start off by saying some people believe, then however that. So that however is like you are separating the two statements with a comma, right? So some people believe, comma, however, comma, that individuals must also take responsibility for the environment, right? Uh, so that is actually a properly linked proper use of a linker word, right? Like however, because you're linking two different statements together with this. Okay, just imagine what would have been the case if that's used at the beginning, right? No purpose in that, right? uh, don't memorize all these things and just use them at random places in your essay, right? Because that is not the actual purpose of these words. Also a commonly made mistake is in the use of although. Yeah, so when you use although, okay, the first statement has a word although. So although something has happened, then there should be something that negates it, right? So but something else, right? If you just use although to write a sentence, it actually makes no sense, isn't it? Yeah, so use all these words properly in the proper context, otherwise it's better not to use them actually, because they do more harm to you than good. Okay, and they serve no purpose if they are not used properly. Okay, uh, go like refer to some band 7 band 8 essays, they are just written plainly. Okay, without all these made up structures or a lot of uh, like effort in all these words or vocabulary and stuff like that, right? It's written plainly in a way that people understand well. Okay, but the way that it's written, the way that the topic is elaborated, the way that sentences are constructed, maybe that is what is key, right? Rather than memorizing many words which you feel that okay, if I use this I may get a good score, right? Common examples may be plethora and all those words commonly used now. Students feel that they have to use it at all essays in all essays that they write. uh, Probably not, probably not, because even if you don't use those words but you write a proper sentence with a good idea, maybe that's going to get you a good score, right? um, don't put too much effort to make your essay complicated. Yeah, if you can understand what I mean. Don't try to complicate stuff which can be said easily. Yeah, and that is actually more important in writing than all this stuff, right? So please be aware about that. Okay. And of course, as everyone might be knowing, you cannot use idioms in writing, you cannot use colloquial slangs. For example, instead of going to, some people write gonna, it's not proper, right? It's a colloquial slang. Instead of people, some students write folks. These cannot be used even in speaking, in IELTS speaking as well. So there's no way that's going to be used in IELTS writing, right? Because this is a formal piece of writing, and the language that you use has to be a formal one, right? So please be very careful, please avoid all these slangs, because not to be used. Okay, plain speaking, that you cannot use all those, right? And there's also a tendency to use abbreviations like etc. Yeah, and if there is some extension to an idea, you use and so on. Both have to be avoided at all cost, right? So please be careful when you do your writing. Please avoid usages like this, okay? Because these are not suitable for formal writing, or let's say IELTS writing task 2. So at all costs need to be avoided, okay? So now let's go to some cliched words and phrases that are to be avoided in writing task, right? So there are situations where people, like students, memorize some words to start off their essay, right? Or they have some particular usages that okay, I will start my essay like this at all times because I am comfortable with it, right? That needs to be avoided. Why? Because that all those usages are now cliched, and all these usages have been done to death actually through repeated writings, through repeated exams, through repeated online references, online essays, been done to death, right? So what are some of them, right? Most commonly used ones, yeah, nowadays, okay. The pros and cons, right? So this one comes in advantage disadvantage essay, right? Pros and cons. So instead of this, what can you use probably, right? The benefits and drawbacks, that's a good way to write, yeah. Then the first one discussed, I have discussed the first like before, the firstly, secondly, thirdly and all those words, yeah. We have discussed this before in the like a few minutes back. Instead of firstly, probably you can write the primary reason, right? The primary reason. Instead of using secondly, maybe you can write another reason why, another reason why. So that leads to a smooth transition to your next, point, right? Otherwise people feel that you're just writing some bullet points, firstly, secondly, thirdly, and you're being just done with it. You're not putting effort into your writing, you're not serious about what point you want to convey, isn't it? It shows a half-hearted effort actually, right? So it's better to avoid all these, yeah. Write instead of that, write this, right? So maybe you can say the primary reason, another reason why, yeah. Then all these things add up to the value of your essay, the fine tuning of your essay to say, right, to sharpen your essay. This creates an impression on your reader and your examiner as well, right? So you get a better band score eventually. So that's what all this is about, right? We want to impress the reader, or we want to impress the examiner with our writing, so that we get the required score that we want. Okay, so these are just tips that you have to follow in order to do that. Okay. Another one, in a nutshell, this has also been done to death, right? A lot of people use that, in a nutshell, to conclude something, right? Better to use in conclusion or to summarize, yeah, instead of using this, because clearly when you write in a nutshell it looks like you have memorized that thing, right, because no one uses that in normal even speaking, no one uses that in normal writing. I have not seen anyone use in a nutshell in formal writing till now, so better to avoid that. Okay. Then about the time periods, right, now I am going to say about the time periods now. Most common criminals among them in this contemporary era, right, in this modern world, in this modern age, in this modern so as to say decade, uh, in this contemporary era, all these words people use to start off their essay, right, uh, please avoid them, because again everyone uses these words, and these have been used from since time immemorial, I would say. uh, Nobody wants to start off that or read an essay with a start like that, right. Also, even if the essay is not about say technology or any technological devices, students have a tendency to write start off the essay by saying due to modern technological advancements. What is the requirement of writing that, right? So what is the need for writing that? Because it has practically no purpose, and it doesn't uh, uh, logically explain anything to your reader as well, isn't it? uh, just plainly it doesn't make sense to anyone reading it, right. So please avoid all these usages, because all these are cliched words and cliched phrases, yeah, been used since long, and I think now is a good time to stop using them, right. uh, Try of some good ways to start off an essay, yeah, something that's forceful enough, something that directly conveys the idea to your reader without beating about the bush, yeah, something that is precise and concise, so as to say, right, because at the end of it everyone wants to read a good essay, needs to understand what is being conveyed to them, isn't it. They need to know how the topic is going to be addressed, yeah. Are your doubts going to be cleared by reading the essay, right. So this is the base of all essays, especially in task 2, right. So please focus on that, yeah, rather than using all this fancy stuff, yeah. Make it readable for the reader, right, make it understandable, yeah. So as to say, like, don't complicate it for the reader and make them turn their face away from your writing, right, because uh, whatever you say, right, uh, whatever you write or whatever you convey through your writing has to be understood by the other person, then only your writing is successful, right. Otherwise, what use is it if you have used a lot of say complex vocabulary, linker words and stuff like that, but still your idea is not getting conveyed to the reader, right. So then you have failed in your effort to write a good essay. Okay, it's just simple as that, right. So please be careful about these points, I believe, yeah. And so in the coming live sessions, I believe we will be dealing more about different types of essay topics, okay. Maybe an opinion based essay, or how to write an advantage disadvantage essay, like how to write a proper analytical essay, how to present an argumentative essay properly, like say how to write a opinion based essay, or how to write an agree disagree essay, or how to write an extent agree disagree essay, right. In the coming live sessions we will be handling each type of essay individually. We will give you some tips on how to write effective essays, essays which really strike to the core point, essays which give you the good required score, okay. So just stay tuned for further videos, that's all I would like to say, okay. So yeah, I think we will end this session, and thank you all for joining in. I hope this was really useful to you, and you have learnt at least some aspects of task 2 writing. We will go in detail in the next sessions, so request you all to tune in then, okay. Thank you for now.